Welcome, friends. This is Mike Williams, and please bear with me. I have a little bit of a cold and a little bit of laryngitis, and this is not a good thing for a radio show host. But in any case, welcome to the Sage of Quay Radio Hour, your home for free and critical thinking. Tonight, my very special guest is Margo of Margo's Healing Corner. Margo has been on a spiritual quest since her teenage years. She's gone where few have gone to explore and discover the answers to the deepest questions of consciousness and our existence. This has led her into various esoteric areas, including meditation, contacting angels and guides, UFO contact, hypnosis, mind control, and much more. She was born a natural empath, unknowingly experiencing others' pain. She has since developed her own brand of spiritual healing using a combination of techniques including hypnosis, guided imagery, empathic abilities, and inner vision to aid in her clients' healing and transformation. She is also able to see and remove psychic implants and unwanted entities. Margo helps her clients face and remove blocks so they may achieve their goals in life. My discussion with Margo was wide-ranging and very interesting as we discussed star families, alien implants, spirit attachments, and shifting timelines. And so without further ado, here's Margo. Margo, welcome to the show, and I was wondering, as a new guest, if you can just give us a little bit of your background, how you got into hypnosis and how you got into the work that you're doing with the etheric and aliens and UFOs and the such. So if you can give us a little rundown, that would be great.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I really appreciate being on your show. It's really exciting to be here also with another hypnotist. So we'll be able to share some things that people probably haven't heard before. As for my background, I was introduced to hypnosis when I was 5. I was hypnotized by accident. My brother used to bite his fingernails a lot, and my dad was interested in hypnosis and the alternative stuff, and so he took my brother to a hypnotist, and the whole family went. It was a stage hypnotist, and after the show, my dad had made an appointment to take my brother to this hypnotist to be hypnotized to stop biting his fingernails. And so we were all in the room, and I was sitting over on the side, and the hypnotist had put my brother into trance. And as soon as he put him into trance, he came over to me and lifted my arm, and it fell into my lap, and he said, "She's a very good subject." And so I got hypnotized by default, and I've always been interested in hypnosis and spiritual things, and trying to find the truth and trying to understand what's going on in this world. And it's kind of hard to do when you don't know what's happening and what's right and what's not right and what's true and what's not true. And I always kind of felt like I wasn't from here. I felt like I didn't belong with my family. I felt like things just weren't right. And I had my first UFO sighting when I was 19, and it was a reddish-orange cigar-shaped object that appeared in the sky, and it was descending at right angles and went behind the tree line. And I drove trying to find it, and I didn't find it. And then I had another UFO sighting a few years later, in which it was kind of a balloon-shaped object, like a helium balloon, and it was purplish and opaque, and it came over in the sky, and it didn't make any sound, and it came right over, and it took about 30 seconds for it to come over. And those were my first 2 conscious sightings. And then in 1985, I started taking pictures in which craft would show up in the pictures, but I didn't see anything when I was taking the pictures, but then they would show up. And they were pretty interesting, and that got me started on my quest to find out what was going on. And then in 1992 was when I started attending UFO conferences, and I started making contact with my angels and guides, and in making that contact, my star family started coming in, who are the Arcturians. And I didn't realize that that's all kind of together, because your star family can be guiding you just as well as your angels and guides. And so that got me on my path and on my journey. And then I when I was living in the Denver area is when I actually connected with a hypnotist who worked with contactees, and she regressed me to some anomalous events that I had where I would wake up with bruises or scratch marks, or would have had some missing time, or regressed me to some of these times when I had taken these pictures where the stuff had shown up in the pictures. And on every single occasion, every single hypnosis session, it was alien contact. And she actually regressed me to my time of birth and to see if anything had happened then. And I was 2 weeks late being born. And at my time of birth, I was not inside the baby yet. I was outside right before the time of birth, and I was on the spaceship, and I was a light being, and I had my bag packed, and my light being family was there, and they were all telling me goodbye, and that I was going on a long journey, and that I would be back, that they would have contact with me, but it might be a long time, but they'd be watching over me and making sure everything was okay. And I stepped into a chamber, and I beamed out, kind of like on Star Trek, and beamed in to the little baby being born. And that was, I recalled all of that under hypnosis, and then the hypnotist says, right after I was born, she says, "How do you feel?" And I said, "It's cold and dark, and I don't like it here."
Yeah.
And then she progressed me forward to the first time I had contact with them, and I was a little baby laying in the crib looking up, and there were 3 light beings hovering over the crib, and they were admiring me and talking among themselves. It was all telepathic, and they said, "She's so beautiful, the experiment worked." And that changed my life. That really did change my life, to have those experiences and to recall them under hypnosis, because it helped put a lot of things together for me. And even though it was kind of like my world was turned upside down to realize all this stuff, and I pretty much lost all my friends and family while I was going through this journey, but I had to find out the truth and what the truth was for me. And for me, this was the truth. And it didn't matter what anybody else thought. And so I decided at that point that I wanted to become a hypnotist and work with the other UFO contactees and abductees to help them understand their journey and to understand what's going on, because a lot of people feel this way. A lot of people have these experiences and things that they can't explain, and it needs to come out. And we have the ability to find out for ourselves. And so that was the main reason that I got into this work, and it is my passion. It's what I love doing.
Now, Margo, what's the difference between a star family and teachers and guides? Because I'm sure there are folks that are listening to the show wondering that.
Okay, the star family is specifically the star group that you might come from. For instance, I come from the Arcturian star family. Other people might come from the Pleiadian star family. There's Sirians, there's Orions, there's a whole laundry list. And then the angels and guides are on a different level. I feel like the star family, they can also guide you, and they can act like angelic beings, but they're not actually the angels like I see angels. I see them differently, and I interact with them differently. And when I first started seeing the angels, they looked like angels to me with the wings and stuff. And star families, they don't have wings a lot of times. Sometimes they do, but my star family doesn't. And I'll see them come in ships, and usually the angels don't come in ships. And I think it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish, as far as whether you're going to contact angels or guides or star family. You know, what's your goal? If you want to leave it open to the Creator to help guide you in that, then, sometimes they all come in at the same time. I've had that experience too, so.
Well, now, then it sounds like the star families, they are another existence, if you will, whereas the teachers and the guides would be on a spiritual realm.
Right. And the star family, they can be in another dimension.
Right.
And they might be coming through in another, you're like in an altered state, and that's why it's when you go into hypnosis, you can communicate with them, because if they're in another dimension, you're not going to be able to consciously connect with them if you're in 3D. So you have to change your frequency and reference point so that you can interface with them. And I do feel like they are interdimensional and from different frequencies in other dimensions, but they are physical. But, if it's 5D or 7D, it's going to be a different frequency and a different kind of physicality than if you're 3D.
Now, was your star family, were they human looking, or did they take on another form?
They were humanoid. They look like white beings of light. They do have humanoid properties. They have a head and, the two arms and the hands. But the Arcturians that I've seen have 2 fingers and a thumb. I have not seen the 5 fingers. They have 2 fingers and a thumb, and they use those to direct energy into the being.
This is very interesting because what you're describing, and to the audience, Margo and I have not discussed this before. Myself and another colleague who does the same type of work, we talked about the star families because when we do the spiritual regressions and we get our clients into altered state of consciousness, they wind up in other worlds or other dimensions, and it's not the spirit world. And that's why I'd asked the question before. And so this is very interesting to me because you're doing this work, and like I said, you and I have not spoken about this, and you're bringing forth the exact same type of information that I have gleaned from my sessions, and colleagues of mine who do this work have also brought it forth. So this is very, very interesting.
Yeah, this is confirmation that this is real then, and this is, we're all hooking into the same thing. Yeah, and no, we have not talked about, we talked, 15 minutes before we decided to do the interview.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't swap notes.
We didn't cover, no, we didn't swap notes. We've not worked together, and I don't know you. We're getting to know each other, and I hope we'll be friends for a very long time. But, no, this is all independent information that we've gotten in.
Now, Margo, when a soul comes in, and in your case, you were with your star family, and they brought you into the incarnation here on Earth. What is the purpose of incarnating and coming to Earth? I mean, I know the answer to that from my work, but I want you to be able to explain that to the audience, because there may be a lot of folks listening to this that are very new to this.
Okay. Well, different people have different reasons for coming. My purpose is to come and bring light and bring that star energy and that Arcturian energy to this lifetime, and also to help others to realize their own divine connection and their path. Other people might have other things they need to accomplish. Some people think that Earth is a planet where we need to come and learn lessons and things like that. It's a hard planet. It's we've got to adjust. We have to learn what's going on here, and we have to learn to love each other and accept each other. And until we do that, we're going to be experiencing different things on our soul journey to eventually go back to the Creator and to become one with the mind of God. So I think the purpose of coming here is, it can have many reasons, and we also may be here to help the soul of the earth. The Great One is what I call her. her mission, in her purpose. So that's just what I think about that.
Well, we could talk about that some more in a little bit because there's a lot of work that has to be done here on Earth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, Margo, the question I have for you is, I read your website, and you have been a hypnotist for 20 years.
Right.
And could you explain a little bit about the hypnosis process as you take your clients into this journey, going into the spirit world, going back to their star families? How does that work?
Okay, it's really interesting the way I do that. It's kind of like a past life regression, but I just put them in a relaxed state, and I do, as you know, I do all the work over the telephone, and I tape record the session and then send it by email to the client. But they just get relaxed, and then I just use an induction technique where we'll say, have you had contact? Do you have a star family, and have you had contact with them? I ask that question, and then I have them ask out loud, do I have a star family, and have I had contact with them? And that's them asking their own subconscious, do I have a star family, and have I had contact? And this is part of the work when I was working with contactees, and actually when you don't know where to go, when you don't know what to go back to, if you don't have a specific time or a place or an event, but you want to find out information, you can ask the question, and your subconscious knows things that have happened to you. And sometimes you'll get body sensations. You might get a pain or a twitch or stinging, or, you know, different people have different body sensations. And with those body sensations, it's hooked into body memories and the subconscious mind, and the body doesn't forget anything. And so I have them ask that, and if they notice any body sensations, then I have them go, you know, intensify those body sensations, and then we go to a time when they felt that before. And it might be in this lifetime, or it might be in another time and space. And I just direct them like that. And then I have them go back and count them down and say, at the count of 3, or whatever I'm counting to, you'll be when you've had contact with your star family. And they go in, and it's kind of like looking at a movie, and you're participating, but you're also watching it as well. And you can actually talk to the other beings that you're seeing. Some people might not see anything right off the bat, and that's okay. But once you get used to your inner vision and that kicks in, it's like a movie, and you're interacting and talking to them. And a lot of times I'll just have them look at their feet, kind of like in a past life regression, because if you're in a body of some kind, you can look at your feet at least and see what's on your feet. Are you barefoot? Are you wearing shoes? What kind of clothes are you wearing? And then that stimulates the imagination, which helps with the visualization. And then the inner vision kicks in, and then other images, and the scene starts coming in, and then I just, you know, guide them along the way. Some people, they'll say, well, I was here, this is my first time here on Earth, and I was put here, and, you know, we have to learn the Earth ways and stuff. And it's really interesting.
Now, you do this over the phone, you said?
I do.
Now, how do you confirm the trance depth level? Because I have found with my work that in order for these sessions to be successful, there has to be a very deep theta state.
They have to be deep.
Yeah.
They have to be really deep. I do a long induction, and I also ask them, you know, about in the middle of the induction part, I'll say, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the least relaxed and 10 being the most relaxed, where would you rate yourself? And then if they say I'm at a 9, then I know that they're getting really pretty good.
Right.
They're getting deep. And so whatever they say, whether it's a 5 or a 3, if it's a 5, then I know I need to deepen them even more. And so I do more deepening techniques. If it's a 9, even, I'll just say take a deep breath, and as you exhale, your relaxation doubles. And then it's already doubled past what they can even think of, their most relaxed state. And so they go even deeper. And then I say again, take another deep breath, and as you exhale, your relaxation doubles yet again. Then they're even deeper. And then I take them through another deepening process where it's they're either on a puffy cloud, drifting down to the ground, and they're becoming deeper as the cloud drifts to the ground, or they're going down steps and they're going deeper and deeper with each step going down, or going down an elevator. There's a number of techniques. And so by the time we get done with all of the deepening, I feel pretty confident that they're in the correct level. And I also ask for their subconscious mind to take them to the correct level for our work tonight or the day. That their mind takes them to that right level. That gives them permission to do that too. And so, they're interacting, and their subconscious is taking them to the level for their experience at that time.
Okay, so you have this lengthy induction. There's a lot of deepening. You're getting them down to a very, very deep trance state. And I tell my clients that when I do spiritual regressions, Margo, that feelings and emotions typically manifest first.
Right.
Because this is at least my experience. Unfortunately, there's a lot of, YouTube videos, and there's books out there that they want to make it appear, or they present it in a way where it's all this visual stuff, and you're seeing all this activity and so on. Not that you won't get there. It's just that I have found that for a lot of clients, they have to get that emotional or that kinesthetic foundation built first. And once they get that established, then what happens is the inner eye starts to tune in, and that's when they start getting their imagery and so on. So I think it's an important point to bring out to the audience, because when you do read the books, you read the Brian Weiss books or the Michael Newton books, or you're watching stuff on YouTube, you have to be aware that, especially from the book perspective, those books are written to sell books.
Right. And some people are going to be better subjects than others. It doesn't mean that it can't be done.
Exactly.
And I found that as well. And some people will go into trance and they say, I don't see a thing. And I say, that's fine. What are you feeling?
Right.
What are you sensing? What do you feel in your body? What kind of emotions are you having? Are you having any thoughts? What's coming in? And whatever comes in, we just go with that, and we just follow that thread and just keep following it and following it, and eventually most people will see something, and then they can have their experience. And that's part of learning to work with that inner eye and that inner vision.
Now, some people will say that the client is making all this stuff up. It's all constructed memory. So what do you say to the naysayers who want to come forth and say, oh, this is just a bunch of nonsense? These people are making this stuff up. They're just gullible.
Well, I tell them that it really doesn't matter, because what matters is the person's experience. What matters is this experience helping them resolve their issues? Is it helping them feel better about who they are and what they're here to do? And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
Well, that's what I tell my clients, too. I tell them after the sessions that they really need to take some time and be introspective and reflect on what it is that came forth, what the messages are, what it is they're supposed to know. And I do tell them to stay away from folks, even if they're family and friends, that are going to essentially try to knock the rungs out from underneath the experience.
That's right, because you don't want them influenced by other people, and we can be so easily influenced, and so a lot of people are very suggestible that way. it's a peer thing, and you have to have a pretty strong ego in order to do this work and to accept what you see and what your experiences are. And it's a lonely path. It can be a lonely path at the beginning while you're exploring your own experiences and trying to figure out who you are and what you're here to do, because other people will just jump right in and interpret it for you. And that's not what you want. You want to interpret it for yourself. And I think that's one reason I lost most of my friends and family over this, because I wasn't going to stop until I got some answers that made me feel better. And they weren't happy with them. And I didn't care. I didn't care if they weren't happy with them. These are the answers I got.
It's amazing how many people want to criticize and instill doubt.
Right.
Into someone.
And these are people who don't know anything about the subject. They've never been hypnotized.
Exactly.
They've never done any research on it. They've just seen stuff on TV or on YouTube or something like that. And I find these are the most ignorant people, and they're the first to criticize. And I steer away from those people, and I try not to have those kind of people in my life at all. And so, if you have people like that, you might need to rethink who you want as friends and, what kind of contact you want to have.
Yeah, what I tell folks who want to debate me, I don't debate anybody these days.
I don't either.
No, I
don't either.
I really don't. This is what I say to them. They'll learn that I do this type of work, spiritual regression, past lives, between lives. Mm-hmm. And then they'll want to, again, they want to debate and they want to tell me that it's not real. And then I'll say to them, okay, I'll tell you what. Let's make an appointment. I'll do a session free. You can get in the chair. Okay? Just come with an open mind. And let's do it that way, and let's see what happens.
And how many take you up on that?
None. Zero.
See?
Because
they're not interested.
No, they're not interested. They want to be content in their paradigm.
Right. They don't want anything to shake up their reality, because if anything happens that they know they're going to have to change.
Right.
And they don't want to do that because they're happy with being the way they are. And they're fine. They think they're fine, and it's the rest of the world that's messed up.
And it's interesting, like you mentioned, it could be a very lonely path, a lonely journey.
It is.
When you discover this and you become aware, because when you first become aware of it, it's very exciting, and you want to talk to people about it. You want to tell them, hey, listen, this is what I've discovered. This is what I've experienced. And boy, you learn real quick how people will just shut you down, and it takes time, though. What I tell folks is, look, because a lot of folks will come to me and say, it's really uncomfortable because I don't really have anybody I can speak to about this stuff. And people I do speak to, they look at me like I'm crazy, or they humor me. And I tell them, stay on your path, because what will happen is your reality will manifest into a different direction, and you will find your tribe. You will find those folks that you're supposed to be with. And in this process, because it is a process in which you evolve, you're going to disconnect and detach from people that may have been very close to you in your life. You might wind up leaving them altogether. I'm not talking about leaving your spouse. I'm just saying leaving certain folks behind, or distancing yourself from them, and moving toward a different set of people and like-minded folks that have very similar experiences. And then when you get there, then what happens is your spiritual growth really takes off, because now you have a support group, if you will, that will help you to further build upon what it is that you experienced.
Right. That's been my experience as well. And you have to go into this with an open mind, and you have to be able to let go of all preconceived notions and all preconceived beliefs. Because your belief system, whatever belief system, before you start in on this work, it's going to change, and it will change. And you want it to change because the old system wasn't working for you. The old system was giving you post-traumatic stress syndrome or anxiety or doubts and fears, and you want to understand these things. You don't want those things anymore. And so in order to get those things out of your life, you have to change your belief system, and it will change as you understand the truth of what's been happening to you, and start putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And I found that every time I found an answer, I had 100 more questions, and I just kept going. And now, if I have a question, I go right to source. I don't go anywhere else. I go right to source, and if it's not the answer I want, I just wait a while. And I say, okay, I give up. I give up my preconceived notions and what I want and what I feel like I need and want, because I don't know what's best. And so eventually, people will get there, but this is all part of the process.
It is, and I want to make one point also for the audience's benefit. When Margo and I talk about the memories or the experience, what happens is once the client gets traction in that trance state, then the experience, the imagery, whatever it is they're experiencing, it's very spontaneous, it's very fluid, it's seamless. And what I find amazing about it, Margo, is it builds an entire storyline.
Yes.
For the client, and it culminates to a conclusion, and that conclusion typically is messages and lessons and understanding and wisdom and knowledge that you're supposed to bring with you to help you to better navigate your current life path. And so if you were involved in, if you were constructing memory, in other words, you were making it up, you couldn't do that. I mean, you could not put a storyline together.
No, and I have clients, they re-listen to these tapes and they say, this doesn't sound like me. I could never bring forth that, I don't talk like that in normal life. I don't have these wisdoms and these teachings in normal life. And that's what I found as well when I started doing my own inner work. And I was contacting angels and guides, and they were giving me all kinds of wisdom and teachings, and it's like, where did this come from? And it didn't sound like me. And, when you start talking about this to people, some people will say, oh, well, you were possessed. That's not good. That's not good. No, you're not possessed. You're tapping into another part of reality, and you're tapping into another part of this great God mind, and you're not possessed because you're able to control the experience and you can come out of it, and you're not taken over.
Well, and you're actually tapping into an experience that if our humanity and our consciousness weren't suppressed, this wouldn't be odd at all. Right? So that's the thing.
Absolutely.
People think it's odd because they have been taught since the day they were born that you can't do this stuff, that it's ridiculous. As a child, if you talk about certain experiences, you'll be told that you have an active imagination. Now, cut it out and go do your homework or something to that effect. And that's the thing. People, they really don't understand what existence really is.
No, they don't. They think it's just right here, what they can see.
Yes.
But it's not. It's so much more. And we are taught to unlearn these things. We come into this world being able to see spirits, being able to see energies, being able to communicate with the other realms. But at a very young age, we're taught that that's not normal, and we're shut down. And we're shut down by the food and the vaccinations and, all the other stuff, too. And so it's a long journey. And so the opening and the awakening takes many different forms, and it just depends on, how hard you want to work at it and how awake you want to become. But it never stops. It never stops. It just is an evolving thing.
You're on a good point. Maybe we could talk about this a little bit, because I think there's a lot of folks out there that they haven't connected these dots yet. Now, more and more people are, but there's still a lot of people that have not. When we talk about GMOs, vaccines, fluoride, the mind control that permeates virtually every aspect of life, what's going on there is an intention to damage the mind-body dynamic. In other words, to keep you in a box, to keep you from realizing who you are as a human. You're a divine being.
Right.
And you do have spiritual abilities. You do have the ability to go into altered state of consciousness, to be able to connect back to the divine. But all of this stuff is being shut down. And it gets very disheartening sometimes, Margo, because I don't know about you, but I will go to the store and I will take a look around and take a look at the folks that, are in the store. And it's very clear to me that they're almost soulless.
Right.
There's a vacancy sign in their eyes.
Right.
And they have had their life force sucked out of them.
Right.
I don't want to get too dramatic about this, but do you see this also?
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
No, I feel the same way. I feel exactly the same way. And I have friends that I talk to, and they feel the same way. And, we've been at the point of giving up. I mean, we ourselves have been in the point of giving up as to even try and help people or try to interact or try to talk to someone, because it's such a schism. It's such a large break from how I see the world and how they're reacting with the world. And it's like, what do you do?
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I feel like I'm on the outside looking in. I'll read the what's going on, as an example, the mainstream media, with all their propaganda and all the nonsense they have out there, and I feel detached from that reality. I don't feel like I'm a part of that reality.
I don't even feel like that's my world.
Yeah.
And the only way I'm able to cope with this without getting too depressed to where I just want to lay down and give up is to create my world where I'm doing all that I can do for me and to help other people create a good world for themselves.
Right.
And that's all I know to do, because I don't want to get way too negative, but I think we're on a hospice planet. That's pretty negative, but and I've done hospice work, and it's not that bad, because it's the person's getting ready to leave. They're getting ready to leave their life that they've had, that they've struggled with, and where they feel like they've had so many failures. But I've sat with hospice patients and held their hand and talked to their angels and helped them cross over, and it's not a bad thing at all. In fact, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to get us ready for that journey. And maybe that's what we're doing here, is to get, if we can start on that spiritual journey here in this life while we're still aware in this 3D, then, we won't be so lost when we cross over.
Many of the problems in the world, in my view, manifest because there is a lack of connectedness going back to spirit.
Right, absolutely.
And I agree. I take a look at what's going on, and it can get extremely disheartening and depressing sometimes. And so I had this discussion the other day with Zen Gardner. I was talking to Zen, and I said, the trap we cannot fall into is that one person cannot solve the world's problems. What has to happen is each of us has our part. And each of us has to do our work. First, we have to do our inner work. We have to be healthy spiritually.
Right.
And then, we touch one person. And then now there's two of us. And then the two of us touch somebody else. And now there's four. And so what happens is it grows exponentially.
Right.
Right. It's a tough job, because as we're trying to do this work, those that don't want this work to get done, I call them the controllers. Mm-hmm. They're very busy 24/7.
Right.
Making sure that they keep things just the way they are, because they want to stay in control, and they want to be able to herd humanity in a certain direction. So that's why it's a very, very tough job, because it's not like we don't have opposition. There's a lot of opposition to the work that we're doing. A lot. Right.
And some people are opposed more than others, and some people are scrutinized more than others, and it's like some people, it's like everywhere you turn, it's like roadblock, roadblock, roadblock. but you just got to keep going. And when I have roadblocks come up, I just say, well, I must be on the right path. I must be doing something right. If they're that upset about me having this new idea or this new person I'm going to talk to or work with, if they're that upset that they're going to make me fall down or, whatever happens, then, or they make my computer crash in the middle of a really important thing that I'm doing or something I'm doing on my website, then, I must be on the right path.
Right. Yeah, I've had that too.
It just gives me more energy to move forward.
Yeah, exactly. It motivates you some more because it is there's a piece of it that says, no, you're not going to get away with that.
Right.
I've had that too. I do a lot of shows, and I have some. All of my guests are great people, and they have their areas of expertise and their skills. And there's been many times, Margo, where we get into a certain topic, a certain thread, and all of a sudden on Skype, everything will get jumbled.
Right.
It's almost like, you're not going to communicate that out, But,
right.
We persevere. We're like, no, you know what? We are going to get that out.
Right.
Right. So it's really, it's a battle. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, because you have some great articles on your website, and it's margoshealingcorner.com, and I'll have that at the end of the show, so folks can click and go there. But one of your articles is removal of alien, etheric, and energetic implants and entities.
Right.
Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Okay, this is a topic that most people are not familiar with, and when I had heard about it in the past, I kind of blew it off. I thought, oh, what good would that do me, even though I'm into all this far-out stuff and had UFO contact and worked with contactees. I thought, what is that really? And then last November, I had my implants removed, and the world changed for me. I had been blocked and stuck in a lot of areas and had been asking for direction and had just felt like I wasn't getting any answers. And
were these physical implants?
No, these were energetic implants.
Okay.
And then once I had them removed, it's like all of a sudden I was unstuck and I was able to move forward, and I felt different. My mind was open and clear. I started having dreams again, and I just have been zooming along ever since then. And what these are things that are put into a person's energetic field. I think they can be from aliens, they can be from your own thoughts, it can be part of your belief system.
Right.
It can be from somewhere you've been, people you've come into contact with. It can be a lot of different things, but it's stuck in your energy body, and it takes form. It actually does take form. And what I see when I go into, when I do this work with people, I go into trance with them. And they're not actually removing the implants, and sometimes, a lot of times, they don't even see them. But with them in trance, I also give them a lot of healing suggestions while I'm doing the work, and so the healing, I think, takes place on a lot deeper level, and so that's the reason I do use the trance state, and it helps me with my inner vision to see the implants as well.
How about, Margo, soul attachments?
Okay, there are soul attachments. I see those usually as a tether, and it can be from another dimension or someone who has died, or it can even be from someone who's alive. And somehow you're still attached to them,
yep.
And you're still like picking up their energy. I had this one client, she kept having dreams about this individual that she didn't want to have dreams about anymore, and he kept showing up in her dream state. And so we did we did a removal of that, and that was a soul attachment, and it was actually part of the star family thing. And so the star family actually interceded and helped with that removal. But what I saw, I did see the tether, and I saw it connecting to her liver. And once I removed that, I said, do you get angry? You know, does this person make you angry? And she said, yes, and he's always made me angry. And I said, well, it's your anger that's keeping you attached to him, even though you don't want that attachment. And so you need to let go of your anger around that situation. So we had to do some work with that. And she had to forgive herself even, and you know, not just forgiving the other person, but I mean, there's a lot that goes on so that you can let go of the energy that's keeping that attachment. And so even though an implant might be removed or an attachment is removed, you really have to watch your thoughts and your energy, otherwise it can come back.
Yeah, I had a very interesting session going back a few months ago. It was really one, if I ever write a book, it's going to be a chapter. But essentially, a client came in for a particular issue, and it was not a spiritual session, it was a clinical session. We were at it for 2 hours, and we had reached a point where it was almost like the client had hit a wall. Mm-hmm. And the client really wanted to break through, but it was obvious as I'm facilitating the session that she's being essentially stifled and held back.
Right.
So I just kept at it, you know, and pressing forward. And then what happened was her mother, who is deceased, came through in the session.
Oh.
And it was her mother who was attached to her daughter. The daughter was the client.
Oh.
And what wound up happening, and this is going to sound very strange to some folks on the phone, but I was essentially now having a discussion with the mother.
Right.
And explaining to her that she needs to let go. She needs to release her daughter. She needs to allow her daughter to live her life, because what she's doing is, even though the mother believes she has good intent, is she's keeping the daughter depressed. She was
right.
She was down. I mean, she was having a lot of anxious feelings and the such. As we were approaching the 2 hour mark, what happened was, finally, the deceased mother, who was attached to the client, let go and released.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, the client in the chair just had this deep breath and this exhale, and she just relaxed, and you can just tell that just this peace just came
right.
over her. And then she said to me, she left.
Yeah.
And it was really an extraordinary session. I'm probably not doing a lot of justice, you know, trying to explain it here in 2 minutes or so. But after the client emerged from the session, her eyes were lit up.
Right.
Her body language was so much different than when she came in, and she seemed alive. And she felt good. So, and the reason why I bring that story up, and I asked about soul attachments, and, you know, as a follow-up to the alien implants, is because people don't believe that this stuff actually takes place.
No, it is real.
Yeah.
It is real. And the more we're aware of it, the more we can become free of whatever is controlling us. Because we want to be free. We want our minds clear. We want our energy clear. We want our bodies clear, so that we can experience what we need to experience. And if we're not clear, we're going to be under the control of something else. And these energetic implants can cause disease. They can cause people pain. They can cause blocks in their mind. They can cause emotional issues. I mean, all kinds of things. And I don't know if you saw, I wrote another article called Removal from the Matrix Implant Removal. I don't know if you saw that.
I hadn't seen that one yet. I will read it, though. So what was that about?
I put up some more articles since we talked. This one came to me directly from Source, and this is a follow-up from the alien implant removal, and it is actually removing yourself from the implant of the matrix. And the matrix is actually, the way it was explained to me by Source, is the matrix does not exist outside of us. It's an implant in our minds. It's an energetic implant in our mind so that we will see and perceive the world the way the controllers want us to see and perceive it. And the way when I work with people, I see pretty much the same thing. Sometimes I see variations, but I see them plugged in to this, like control panel. It's in another dimension, actually. It's in like 3.5 or 4D even, and it's from a very high technological alien race. And they're plugged into the back of their head, and that's where the eyes see, the occipital lobe. When you're seeing the world, it's actually the light comes in through your optic nerve, and those end up in the back of your head,
right,
in the occipital lobe, and that's where you see. And so I see plugs coming in through the occipital lobe to control how we see the world, and I see plugs coming into the back of the heart to control how you feel about people and you know, your expression and love and things like that. And I see plugs coming into the hip area in the back to control your sexual expression and how we interact with people sexually, because that's a big one. And a lot of people, especially now, are getting into so many perverted areas with sex. And that's part of the matrix. That's part of that implant. And then I also see something covering the mind, covering the head to control the way we think. And so once I take all of that off and unplug people from that, that is profound, because that also keeps the etheric implants going. So once you have both of those, all of that removed, then it's like you're still in the world, but you can see truth. You can see
right.
when people are lying. You can see what's wrong. You can see. I had one client who said she felt like removal from the matrix was the most profound thing that had happened to her, because automatically she was able to see the inner workings of it. And it's like I can see what makes up the matrix, and I can look on television and see when people are lying, and I can tell what's wrong. And it's like you understand, and then you're not deceived. And that's profound, to be able to reach that level to where you're not deceived. Then you can start finding answers for yourself.
It's interesting because people will ask me, because of the work that I do with the radio show and the blog, and they'll say, Mike, do you ever get concerned about addressing and approaching the issues that you do? And I say to them, you know what? I feel much more secure and comfortable in the truth, because when you can see the matrix for what it is, which is all deception and lies, it's all manipulation,
right,
then you step outside the box and you're no longer engaged in the fear.
Right.
And everything else that goes along with it, the scarcity.
Right.
It's when you don't see it and you don't understand it, that's when life can be very difficult, challenging, and for some people almost miserable. You know?
Right, absolutely. And fear is an implant too, and they feed on that fear, and they want you fearful. They want you
right.
Not knowing what to do. They want you confused. Because fear is opposite of love, and you know, in your mind you can't, and in your body you can't have two emotions and two thoughts going at the same time. You're either going to have one or the other. And fear is the opposite of love. And if they can keep fear ramped up, then we'll never get to love. And that's where we need to go, is love.
You know, it's interesting. As I speak to folks like yourself about their ability to see the matrix for what it is, I'm trying to think of an exception, and I can't think of one. But virtually everybody that I know that's involved in this has had some spiritual awakening, some inner work that had to get done before they were able to see through the lies and the deception.
That's right. Right, because our whole purpose here is spiritual. It's not physical. Our purpose is not to make money and not to be, I mean, yeah, we have to make money in order to live in this reality.
Right.
But, I mean, that's not why we were here. I listened to your Santos Bonacci interview this morning. Oh, it was so good. It was so excellent. And where he was talking about that exact same thing and saying our purpose is to serve the Supreme Creator.
That's right.
I mean, that's the bottom line, and that's so simple. But it's so hard to get there because this world is a dark world. And it's controlled by the controllers and by the dark side. And I feel like we're infiltrators, coming in to bring the light and to help as many people as we can to bring their light forth and their divine.
It is a dark world, Margo, and a lot of people they don't see it. They don't see it for what it is. In other words, let me see if I can put some examples around this. The whole fact that the world is based upon a system of commerce and consumption.
Right.
It is the furthest thing from spirit you can possibly get. You're so far from the mothership, it's not even funny.
Right.
And you're taught that the more money you make, the more of a person you are.
Right.
You're more of a human being than the next person.
Right. Their guidelines for success are how much money you make,
right.
how big a house you live in, and how many and how many vehicles you have.
Right.
And how can you control people? I mean, that's the bottom line. It's all about greed. And I've never ascribed to that. I never have, and I've never been able to fit into the system. And I've tried, and I've worked a lot of day jobs, and worked in the system, and it never works for me. It just never works for me because I'm so different. And so finally, I just said, I'm me. I'm me, and I have to do what I love doing and what I'm best at and what my gifts are. I have to develop my gifts and do this. And, I think that's for everybody. When they get on this spiritual path, it's such a rude awakening to realize that, we're not part of this world. And, yeah, we have to be here and we have to participate in order to do what we have to do. But it's wrong. I mean, this world is just wrong in so many ways.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I mean, it's very wrong, and there are many, many souls that have incarnated here. My council of elders told me that many warrior souls have come into this existence down here because the warrior soul, they persevere no matter what. They keep going.
You have to be. You have to be a warrior to withstand this, because if you're not a warrior, you won't make it.
Right.
You will not make it. And I was told that only the best, they only send the best, because otherwise you will not make it. You'll be torn apart.
Yeah, it's very, very tough. And so, folks, really what we're saying here is that if you really want to be able to have an existence which is more fulfilling, where you're more comfortable in your own skin, then you're going to have to do your inner work. You're going to have to get connected back to spirit. You're going to have to get connected back to the divine. You have to understand what a human being really is. A human being is not what the controllers are making humanity.
No.
And I tell folks, Margo, that we live in a cartoon world.
Right.
Everything is so dysfunctional. And you talked about even the sexual aspect of it, which has become very perverse. And it has become very, very perverse. The sexual union is supposed to be sacred.
Right.
It's a sacred union. And the controllers have essentially, through their propaganda and their media and their porn, they have taken it and they have just relegated it to some, I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, just There's no love involved.
No.
None of that. It's just something that you do.
And once they get into the perverse acts, they get addicted to it, and they can't get out of it.
Exactly.
It puts them on this high because it gives them this adrenaline, and it's like, wow, I can't believe I did that. And it's like, well, I got to do it again, or maybe I can think of something more perverse, or let's try this or that. And it's like, let's see how gross it can be. And it's like then they don't stop.
Right.
Then they cannot stop. They can't. And then that's where it's a real tragedy, because they've lost all their connection with God.
Yep.
All their spiritual connection, and that's what the dark side wants.
Yeah.
And the dark side is doing a really good job. They're doing a good job of pulling people away. And I think that, the lines are being drawn, and it's either one side or the other, and it's not going to be anything in between. And now's the time to make your choice.
I was told by my counsel, this is going back, I guess, a few years back, Council of Elders, and I was in the spirit world, and we were talking about this very thing of what's going on here on Earth. And they said to me that right now what's going on, it is an experiment, a grand experiment, to see if the collective consciousness of the souls that are here can get humanity up over the hump. So it's a big experiment right now to get the collective consciousness, because where the consciousness goes, that's the reality that manifests.
Right.
So that's why the controllers want to keep you in fear. That's why they want to keep you focused on false flags and terror and shootings and everything else, because that becomes your reality. That's what you get hunkered down in.
Right.
But if you shift away from that, that doesn't become your reality. And if you get a critical mass of collective consciousness flowing in the right direction, then what happens is their little game is over. The gig is up. But my counsel told me, and I haven't really told too many people this, they said it is a grand experiment and we're going to see if this could work. And I said in my counsel, I said, but what if it doesn't work? And they said, if it doesn't work, then what's going to happen is what's happened in the past. They're going to push the big reset button.
Right.
So I don't know if you have similar messages or understandings, but that's what I was told.
Yeah, I've seen that it's like a dividing time. It's a division, and that we're in a really critical time right now, and we're reaching the tipping point where it's going to go one way or the other, and that really the timeline is going to shift, and it's going to split. And what I've been told by Source, and other people have seen this too, is that when the timeline shifts, the dark side will take their part, and they'll be AI and have all these super soldiers and all this stuff, and they'll have a dead world. But the soul of the earth is going into this other timeline where the people who are of the right attunement and want to go, the humans with souls who have awakened, or on far enough along, they'll go with the soul of the earth and into this alternate timeline where we do create our own reality away from those controllers. But I also see a world where everything could just blow up. And, a part of me just says, hit the button. I want to be at ground zero. Let's go. Let's just get this over with.
Yeah.
Like, why do we have to suffer any longer?
Yeah, my daughter was watching some show on Netflix, and I was not familiar with the show, so I said to her, so what are you watching? And she said, oh, Dad, it's about a show where a big asteroid hits Earth and wipes everything out. I said, we could only be so lucky.
Yeah. Oh, was it Melancholia? Was that it?
I don't know. I don't know. I was in the kitchen doing something, maybe making some dinner, and I was just poking my head in. I wasn't paying a lot of attention to it, but
yeah, I'm so ready. I'm so ready to go. I'm so tired of being here, and tired of struggling, and tired of trying to deal with everything. And it's getting darker and darker, and the technology is just outrageous. And I just don't know. I don't know. The only hope I can see is people wake up, and we've just got to wake up, and that's our only way. That's our only hope is spiritual awakening.
It is, and I have a little story for you. I'll
Okay.
tell this, and let's see if you know anything about this.
Yeah, we need to lighten the mood a little bit.
No, we're doing fine. We're doing fine.
Okay.
Believe me, there's a lot of folks that feel the same way we do.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Mandela effect?
I am.
Okay. Well, I'm one of those people that remembers people dying before they died again.
Right, the different timelines. Okay, yeah.
So, about 3 or 4 years ago, a good friend of mine sent me a link to an article on Before It's News, and it was about this phenomenon where people remember people dying before they died again. So, as an example,
right.
The Mandela effect is called the Mandela effect because there are people that remember Nelson Mandela dying prior to Nelson Mandela dying, like I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Right, yeah, he died a long time ago.
Right, I remember that. I remember Nelson Mandela.
That.
Yeah.
Right.
Here's another one for you. So I'm reading this article, and it says, now some people, they remember Kirk Douglas dying, but Kirk Douglas is alive. And I said, Kirk Douglas is not alive. I remember Kirk Douglas dying, and I remember the funeral taking place out in L.A., and I remember Michael Douglas coming out of the services just bawling, just he couldn't contain himself. He was crying, his father passed away. So, I'm reading this article, and then as I'm reading it, I go on to the internet. I'm like, what? This is a bunch of nonsense. Of course he's dead. I go on, and he's alive, and he's blogging out in California or something. I could not believe it, Margo. I couldn't believe it. And then they mentioned Helen Thomas, who was one of the lead journalists for the White House. And I remember the headlines on a newspaper way back when, which said that Helen Thomas passed away. She died. And then, of course, Helen Thomas, she died again. She didn't die when I thought she died. She died much later on. The same thing with Richard Chamberlain. So this is a very, very interesting phenomenon because it speaks to, in my view, just a theory, that they're playing with the timelines.
Right.
Right, that they're manipulating the timelines. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are absolutely, and they can remote view the future and see, how a certain event is going to play out, and then they don't want it to play out that way, so they'll go back and manipulate the past. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, we're flipped into another timeline.
Yep.
And so in the new timeline, that person didn't die at that time. But most people don't remember that because maybe they're not all humans with a soul. Maybe they're AI. Maybe they weren't awake enough. Maybe they weren't of a certain frequency to have that awareness. I've had situations where I'll go in a store and everything is different. I was there like a week ago and it's like everything has been moved around in the store. And it's like, what happened? Oh, well, we changed this like 3 months ago. It's like, no, you didn't. And I remember I went hiking in one of my favorite hiking places, and I had been there, I don't know, 3 or 6 months before, and I went, and it had all been developed into parking lots and hiking trails and, porta potties, and they can't do that in 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you cannot do that in a national forest in 6 months. It doesn't happen. And I was spinning. I literally could not stand up. My reality was blown. And that was years ago. And that's when I started realizing that the world is shifting around us. And it can shift right in front of our eyes. I was shopping one day in a grocery store, and I had gotten some groceries, and I'd put them in my basket, and I turned around, and I was getting like bulk almonds or something, and then I went around, and my grocery cart was gone. My cart was gone, and in place of my cart was like somebody's cart with all this junk food in it.
Yeah.
That's not my cart.
Yeah.
And I went looking all over the store for my grocery cart. It was gone. Yeah. And I had to start all over. I swear, this stuff happens to me all the time. all the time. We're jumping around, timelines shift, timelines change. I've had instances where when I was working a day job, the people I was working with, they would be different. They wouldn't have remembered things that, cases we had worked on or things we had talked about, and they would look different, they would act different. I would have the paperwork there, but they would say, well, no, that didn't happen. And then I'd say, well, but it happened in my world, but it didn't happen in their world. And so the people can be different. They can look the same, and I've had times where I might lose touch with some of my friends and family for 3 or 4 months. It might have been a while since I've sent an email, and it's like, well, I haven't talked to them in a while. I haven't written them so I'll email them, and we pick back up, and it's like, well, maybe, and it was in a time when I shifted, and then the timeline shifted again, and maybe during that time when we were not in touch, they weren't in my timeline.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. I have a theory that 9/11, when they did 9/11, that was a big ritual, and
absolutely
that the controllers know that by steering consciousness, they can manifest reality. So that's why I tell folks all the time, your thoughts create your reality. So what they do is they steer your thoughts, and by putting your thoughts in a certain place, a certain space, then what happens is they manifest their reality. And so I think since 9/11, which was 15 years ago, the world's consciousness, their focus, their thoughts, was on the attack in New York.
Right.
And then right after that, all of the propaganda, all of the deception and the lies ensued, and it was full-blown assault.
Right.
On the world.
Well, that's when Homeland Security came in. They had all that set up, ready to go.
Oh, exactly. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Patriot Act was already written, all that stuff,
Right.
And by the way, 15 years later, with everything that's come out, there are still people that believe the fairy tale of, the official story.
The planes, yeah.
Yeah, but my point being is that what they did was to create their reality by shifting the consciousness, by taking the thoughts of the world and moving it and nudging it over to the right, let's say. And by just nudging it over to the right a little bit, what happened was there was a different reality.
Right.
And that's what I believe is what we're residing in today.
Right.
That, don't get me wrong, there was still a lot of bad stuff happening before 9/11, but they needed that event which would push it up over the top.
Right, and they needed it in America.
Right.
They needed the Americans to experience it, and they needed a blood sacrifice in order to gain that energy to push it over there.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a dark ritual, yeah.
Exactly. Well, Margo, this has been a fabulous discussion. I really, really enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed it tremendously.
Talking to
we just got started.
Yeah, we just got started. I'll have you back on the show. I mean, you've written a lot of articles now. I just went back to your website. I can see that you have some more up. So what we'll do is, we'll talk about some of those other articles by having you come back on. And
great, I'd love it.
Yeah, it's a good conversation. I think it's good because there's a lot of people that feel the way we feel and think the way we think. But as you mentioned earlier in the show, they don't really have the audience or the outlet in which to express their thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So they can listen to us.
Yay. Sounds good to me.
All right, Margo. So your website, you want to give us your website?
It's margoshealingcorner.com. And I have my articles up there. I'm writing new articles all the time. I'm going to be branching out and talking about, I communicate with trees and animals, and I also do healing work on the earth. I'm going to be talking about that. And some stuff about how we're blocked and how to get your spirituality, kicked into high gear by changing your diet and, keeping away from toxins as much as possible, because I've had a lot of experience in that. So be checking back, because I'm putting new articles up all the time, and contact and how to work with me. And like I said, I do work with people over the phone. And there are 3 basic sessions that you really need. The first one is a consultation and a basic hypnosis session. The second one is removal of the alien implants, and the third one is removal from the matrix. And I find when people do those 3 sessions right up front, then they're really ready to go to do other work with me. And it's otherwise they're really blocked, and we want you as open as possible, so because your belief system, your world is going to be thrown upside down when you start doing this work.
Right. That's right.
So thank you so much, Mike. I've so enjoyed this time, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.
You're very welcome, Margo, and you have a great evening, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you.
All right, bye-bye now.
Bye.
And that concludes another Sage of Quay interview, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion as much as I did. Links to my guests' websites and social media are listed in the show notes below. And as always, I'd like to thank everyone for listening and visiting the blog. You can get to the blog by typing in sageofquayradio.blogspot.com or simply head over to our hub website at sageofquay.com. Also, if you get a moment, please visit laboroflovemusic.com to listen to my album, Leaving Dystopia. And remember, live in truth and always serve creation. It's really that simple. See everyone next week. Be safe, enjoy, and God bless.
everything I see, and it's real.